I authorized military action to stop the killing and enforce UN Security Council Resolution 1973. We struck regime forces approaching Benghazi to save that city and the people within it.
And just as President Trump said the future of Iran is in the hands of its people, President Obama said the same to the people of Libya.
There remains a degree of uncertainty, and there are still regime elements who pose a threat. But this much is clear. The Gaddafi regime is coming to an end, and the future of Libya is in the hands of its people. In just 6 months, the 42-year reign of Muammar Gaddafi has unraveled.
Did Obama need congressional approval? Well, Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, said this.
Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
So she spoke to Fox News Digital earlier this week, saying the difference between Iran and Libya is that Libya was a, quote, limited operation. But was it really? It lasted 7 months. It involved 8,000 military troops, 21 NATO ships in the Mediterranean, and 26,000 strike sorties. Approximately 6,000 military targets were destroyed, and all this led to the fall of Gaddafi. But not only did Democrats not demand congressional approval, then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton dismissed the need for it altogether. Quote, in March 2011, Clinton testified there was no such need for consultation and declared that the administration would ignore a 60-day limit on unauthorized military actions. And look at this. This is hot off the press. Here is Senator Adam Schiff.
This statement from the administration: the president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest. That's too vague for you?
Totally vague.
Okay, because that's from Obama about Libya.
Ouch. Well, let's bring in UC Berkeley law professor and former DOJ official John Yoo. If you didn't catch what happened there, I know you did, but just for our viewers, because it was quick, he was read the justification for Libya, and he said that was vague while he opposes President Trump's action. Maybe you can describe, you're very smart, Professor Yoo, the guiding constitutional philosophy of Adam Schiff.
I might be smart, but I can't perform miracles, Kaylee.
I love it.
What your clip showed, what you just showed in your reporting in that clip, unfortunately, is that Democrats are playing politics with the Constitution and engaging in political posturing while we have men and women in the field. The politics are apparent because, as you just pointed out, you could look at President Obama in 2011. You could look at President Biden's strikes on the Houthis. The Democrats only think that the Constitution demands Congress's authorization for war when Republicans are president. When Democrats are president, these same people who were in the Congress at those times didn't raise a doubt, didn't draw anything into question. And I have to say, President Trump put Congress on notice even more so than any of these past Democratic presidents. Not only did he move all these forces into the region over time, but he attacked Iran just last June. If members of Congress wanted to stop the war in Iran, they had plenty of time to use the funding power, which is their ultimate power over war, between June and now. And let's just say they know how to use the funding power when they want. Even when they pass a $900 billion spending bill for the Defense Department, they at the same time closed down the Department of Homeland Security because Democrats are upset about the use of the Border Patrol in Minneapolis. So they know how to use the funding power they want to. They just don't want to because they want to engage instead in political posturing against a Republican president.
And you have a fantastic piece out in the National Review that details the ways they could have stopped this if they wanted to. I encourage everyone to read that. I want to pull this up, and look, I love constitutional law. I'm a bit of a nerd, I'll just admit it. And here you go. Article 2, you have the commander-in-chief power, so that gives President Trump a lot of discretion. Article 1, Section 8, it gives Congress the power to declare war. And I highlight declare because during the Constitutional Convention, that word was make war, and they changed it to declare, which to me underscores that the president does have this power, which is why past presidents have used it. And we've only had, I believe, 11 war declarations in all of U.S. history, Professor Yoo.
Kaylee, you're no nerd. Every law professor hopes to have a student like you who actually reads the Constitution on national television. What a joy, actually, to go through. You're quite right. The Constitution gives the president the power to be the commander-in-chief and has the executive power of the U.S. government. The Congress has the power to declare war. It doesn't say make war. And there are other parts of the Constitution, Kayleigh, which say Congress has to consent to the states when they engage in war. There, it's pretty clear. When the founders want Congress to, as it were, turn the key in the nuclear submarine first, they knew how to say so. Declarations of war back in the 18th century, at the time of the founding, had nothing to do with turning the keys on the submarine missiles. It had to do with telling the other side that you were at war under international law. It doesn't have to do with making war.
Well, Professor John Yoo, I am not sure if my Harvard law professors, many of whom worked for Obama, are proud of my constitutional conservatism, but I'm glad I would be a good student to you. So thank you.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.